talking to you guys today about creating a financial dashboard for a sales as a service business, focusing on key performance indicators. So I was doing work for Crystal Commerce, which is an interesting company to say the least. They are a sales as a service business where they take e-commerce, graphic design, free web point of sale, and marketplace expansion and bundle that all together, providing a product for their consumers. So basically the way that they started was looking at trading card companies. So if you go down the street, you can find your classic, I want to go play Magic or Pokemon or whatnot, and buy cards. Well, we live in a little bit of a different world today with the internet and whatnot, where if you want to go buy cards, you might go to the internet. You might still go down to the street and talk to your good friend Fred or whatnot, but that may not be the case anymore. So in that changing world, they give you these different pipeline editions that make it much easier for you to be able to connect your storefront business to your online commerce. So the bundling of all those things, they will list all of your cards on Amazon, eBay, all these other random trading card websites that I had never heard of, as well as posting them on Facebook and Twitter. There are a couple of exchange things that you can do through Facebook, as well as give you a point of sale. So if you've ever gone to a store where they have like an iPad with that little swipe edition, some people, you can buy that yourself and you can set that up. Well, they set up this system for you so that your inventory will maintain both in your store and through the website sales. So someone goes online, they want to order this very specific card, they're able to do that, and then it will link back to your store, you ship it back out to them really easy. They don't charge very much for this, so there's a $400 startup fee just to buy their package, but then after that, they don't charge you anything until you start making money, and it's at a 2% per sale kind of thing. So, if you sell a card, let's say you sell it for $1, well, they're taking 2 cents. It's not a huge downfall to your business, you're able to still succeed. They have about 40 employees, which is a significant step up from what they were 2 years ago when they were working out of the basement. Have now moved into a 2-story building, which is it's working pretty well for them, it seems. They make about $1 million in annual income, and they, like I said, they moved out of their basement operations about 2 years ago. So now that you have a little bit of background info, I'm going to give you an outline of the project that I did for them, which kind of went through a roller coaster, but we'll go through that together. So part one was really determining what Dan McCarty wanted. He's the CEO of the company, and he likes to live kind of up in the clouds. Pretty much everybody in the business, in the nicest way possible, is very nerdy. And I love that because I can relate perfectly. So working with them, it was a lot of references, analogies, and a lot of fun conversations that would kind of be, so we want all these things to live in the same world and to go on a quest to the internet to find out what you need, the metrics, and it was fun. It was a fun process. Though, as Dan lived in a very entrepreneurial, well, yeah, we want to do this, and we want to make this happen, and everything's great. It was hard to be able to funnel that down into deliverable items, to say, okay, yes, it would be awesome for you to have these metrics and for you to be able to judge based on your employees' performance whether or not they deserve a bonus. How do we do that? It's a great idea, but we need to be able to figure this out. So through that, through a hour-long or so meeting where we went up there, they are located up near Shoreline, just north of Seattle, we were able to really funnel that down, and it turned into majorly a research project. So going online and really figuring out what metrics and key performance indicators are important to a SaaS business, sales as a service. So that was part two of the project. I dug deep into the internet and went on one of these major quests that he described to figure out what are the key performance indicators for Dan to be able to look at. Now, though this was the majority of the project, the deliverable, the key piece that we were going to put at the end, which Drew actually had a nice segue to, was creating a dashboard that he would be able to look at that just had these metrics and their benchmarks next to them, so that he could just quickly look at, here's been our month's performance last month. Is it satisfactory? What departments are failing? What departments have been doing really well? And who deserves these bonuses at the end of the year? So moving into part three, we needed to determine the best practice benchmarks of different competitors. Now, Crystal Commerce is in an interesting, pretty awesome position where they're not really competing with anybody except for, let's say, Amazon. And Amazon's on a whole nother level where they're doing sales as a service for everything, anything you want to post up there. They don't really have a corner market on trading cards or anything along those lines. He's also wanting to move into video games and some other kind of related products. So determining best practice benchmarks for competitors in the field doesn't really exist. So we had to link that to any other sales as a service types of business. Obviously relating this to Amazon, that's not fair. He's making $1 million every year. You know, Amazon's in the multi-billion range, so it's not exactly an easy conversion there. But luckily, he does have a surplus of historical data. So we have been able to, and we are continuing to, dig deep into his accounting department and his sales department to determine what are the leads that are working really well for you, and how much cash balances have you had over the past 4 years. They moved into their building about 2 years ago, and that's when everything started to ramp up. So that's the focal point of where we've really been investigating. Starting there, how is your business done, and how are you able to relate the pros and cons, or not the pros and cons, but the positives and negatives that have happened over those 2 years to your business interactions. Step 5 was then to funnel all that data into a program called Chart.io, which allows you to, like I said before, put all these numbers up front, right out on a dashboard for you to be able to see, and it also grabs that data automatically. So as the next month's financial statements come in, it automatically feeds into Chart.io, automatically updates all those numbers, and he can really get an easy view as to how his company has been performing. So determine the ideal project outcomes. Like I said, that was a little bit of a difficult battle. We started with some of the older ideas, and we're able to kind of move up until our 3-dimensional range. Select the key performance indicators. So to dig deeper into this a little bit, these are 5 of the 7 key performance indicators that we drilled down to. The monthly recurring revenue. So he, again, is in an interesting position where he's getting a percentage of sales. A lot of sales as a service businesses are based on a contractual obligation where you are paying $100 every month as a subscription fee. Well, because he's only getting a percentage, it's not a consistent recurring revenue, but we've been able to average that down and create a benchmark for him that he can then say, oh, this month was really under. What happened? Why aren't they selling as much? How can we better support our customers to sell more? Churn rate is the overturn of customers. So as a customer comes in, let's say they stay for 3 months, but then they're leaving. So your 3-month churn rate isn't looking very favorable because you're able to get customers, they want to be here, and then all of a sudden they're leaving. Why are they leaving? Well, this helps to show where and when they're leaving. Obviously, as a sales and service business, if you can't maintain customers, then you're going to lose your monthly recurring revenue, and then you're going to fail. Cost per acquisition is how much is it costing the company to gain one customer. So if you have a negative cost per acquisition, or if your cost per acquisition is greater than the lifetime value of the customer, which we'll talk about in a second, then you're losing money, you're about to tank. So then the lifetime value of the customer is taking an average of how long the customer stays, how much they make during that time, and subtracting out the cost of goods sold. Also, an interesting kind of thing to drill down into is what are your costs of goods sold when you're not selling any particular goods? Do you include the payroll expenses? Where do you draw those lines? So that's been an interesting process working with accounting to kind of figure out, yes, there's the legal definition of cost of goods sold or the accounting definition, but that is not the place that we are necessarily in trying to determine the lifetime value of a customer. Revenue per employee, pretty self-explanatory, how much you're bringing in divided by the number of employees you have, or per department. So basing it out of each department. Level of cash, extremely straightforward. How much cash is on your balance sheet? So then the funnel. This has been my favorite one that I think will be the most beneficial for Crystal Commerce. This looks at the different levels of customer recruitment. So as people visit his website, let's say he gets 1 million people to go and click on the Crystal Commerce website every month. Obviously, they're not going to get 1 million customers. Let's say they get 10. And that's doing pretty well. 10, 15, 20 new customers, that's a good month. This looks at the conversion rates between those places, and it really helps you to focus in on where you should be spending your time on improving the process. Because, okay, great, you're getting 1 million people to view the site, that's a lot of people to come in as unique viewers. But then, let's say that you only get 1% that stay on through the first month. Well, that means that something is going on from when you're able to recruit them as a customer to your ability to retain them for the future. And so really drilling down into that level is something that needs to be done, and it's something that we're doing now. Create the company benchmarks. Well, I figured to include a little cartoon here. It says, whose idea was it to use Enron as a benchmark? So as we're trying to find these online benchmarks, it's difficult to be able to find which are the good ones, which are the bad ones, and are there anything that are even applicable to this specific sales as a service business. So then putting it into Chart.io, here's an example of a Chart.io dashboard. You can create different graphs as well as individual metrics and really set up a free-flowing document that looks pretty good. This is an example of one they had already created, and we are working to create one that is deeper. So with that, does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
So what's to stop them from going to eBay and paying no fee? What's to stop them from putting the same set of same set of cards and all sorts of things onto Amazon and running that themselves rather than having a third party do it? Because most of these card shops aren't going to be able to afford the startup costs and the percentages off their top line.
So obviously that would be a better question for Dan, as I haven't been as much on the business side, but my understanding and the quick explanation that he gave me during one of our meetings was that the amount of time it would take to file these individual cards into eBay is just wildly above the resources that an individual card shop would have. There are programs that exist. That's one of the things that he uses is this program, and they pay the large subscription fee to be able to bring in then these smaller companies. So as far as the costs associated with that, probably a much larger upfront cost for the card shop to be able to buy this software. But Dan is able to reduce that cost and spread it out over multiple subscriptions, which allows them that lower cost of entry, basically.
What are the margins?
I don't think that I can disclose that. Sorry. I know that they make 2% off of sales. Yeah.
I was wondering what their typical, like when they start a service for a company, or a shop, what the revenue increases are like for that shop generally.
That actually would be a great metric to look at. I hadn't thought about that at all. I know that the shops generally fall off, either when they make it to the 3-month mark after subscription, they either fall off or they hang around for 2+ years, which was one of the things that we've been looking at with that funnel. So, as one of his employees had said that I've been working pretty intimately with, Jared, they either fail within those 3 months, so it's sort of a last-ditch effort. We're going to go and try to use this service and see if it works out, or they hang around because it has been working out, which sort of also skews a lot of the metrics that we're looking at because you get this survivorship bias. But I don't know if that sort of answers your question. Unfortunately, I don't know the specific number.